Look, we all know that Eric DeCosta had a phenomenal offseason. And you don't really even need me to tell you that because so far through the first couple weeks of the NFL season, it's apparent that the guys he brought in over free agency, maybe outside of Jair Alexander, and the guys he drafted, especially late, have really played above their payroll, okay? Of course, I'm talking about 3 offseason steals. We're going to do a deep dive on today's show. DeAndre Hopkins, who was signed on a 1-year, only $5 million deal. Teddye Buchanan, who was a 4th-round pick, 129 overall. And Aeneas Peebles, who was selected in the 6th round, who was the 210th overall pick. All 3 of those guys, throughout the first 2 weeks of the season, have been phenomenal, and they're all looking like absolute offseason steals. What I want to do is steal the lead away from Steelers Talk. If we take a look at our season-long sub-battle that we started just about, 10, 15 days ago. Unfortunately, we are down by 48. So not bad, not insurmountable, but they've got a pretty good lead, okay? I need you guys to help me out. If you hate the Steelers and you love the Ravens, you got to hit that subscribe button today and lock us in for daily coverage. It's all 100% free right here at the Ravens Rundown, and it helps us make a Steelers fan day worse. All right, let's start off with DeAndre Hopkins, the one who I think has easily impressed the most out of the 3 we're going to talk about today because he is off to an unbelievable start. And I will never forget when they signed him free agency and everybody was on Twitter calling him washed. Everybody was on Twitter throwing him up there in the graphic with Odell Beckham Jr. and all the other old wide receivers that have kind of finished their career in Baltimore. But his start so far is different because he's unbelievable through 2 games. 4 targets, 4 receptions. His yards per catch is at 24.8. His average depth of target, 24.3 yards. His catch rate over expected is 65.38%. And all of that with just a target share of 8.5%. Now we know there's only so much sugar you can share with this Baltimore Ravens offense, with how many elite weapons. But D-Hop, every time that Lamar Jackson has gone to him, he's made a play. And it's been a moment. I mean, look at this catch against Cleveland. This is the one that finally got called a touchdown because his first one got called back. And who's ever going to forget his first ever catch in a Baltimore Ravens uniform? The one-handed grab against the Buffalo Bills for a touchdown. At that point in the game, put them up 2 touchdowns. We thought it was over. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Life goes on, and then you got into week 2. This was his first big catch of that day against the Cleveland Browns. This one was one I thought was a touchdown. Gage thought it was a touchdown as well. Unfortunately, downed at the 1-yard line, or else he'd have 3 tuds on the season. But regardless, every single time Lamar gets the ball to him, he makes a play. Makes a tough catch at his age, at that price tag. Unbelievable. And what I've said about DeAndre since the day he was signed, he gives Lamar something different. He gives Lamar something he's never had before. And that is a contested catch warrior. A guy who can just go up there, moss you, make any catch on the field. I love Zay. I do. I love Rashad Bateman. Think he's an unbelievable deep threat. I loved Odell Beckham Jr. Obviously, Mark Andrews has meant what he's meant to Lamar, but nobody is to Lamar what DeAndre Hopkins has the ability to be to him. Goal line fade, deep ball, jump ball type guy. All right, we're done with DeAndre. Let's move on to the other side of the ball. Let's talk about Teddye Buchanan. Because this was a pick that I was really, really excited about. In fact, when I made the video on draft day, I'm pretty sure my title for that video was the Baltimore Ravens just made a sneaky good draft pick. And it hasn't taken us very long into this regular season to see just why I was saying that. Because week 2, if you look at the snap count, him compared to Trenton Simpson, who he was backing up going into the year, I mean, it doesn't even compare. 82% of the snaps played, 60 of them total for Buchanan, 21% and 15 total for Trenton Simpson. And that was a big uptick from week 1 to week 2. But still, if you look at week 1, Teddye Buchanan outsnapped Trenton Simpson then. That was a little bit closer. And Trenton Simpson was the technical starter going into that game because he was out there with the first-team defense. But then things got switched up with Teddye in week 2, and it wasn't even close. Like week 1, they still had close snaps with Trenton technically being the starter. Week 2, 82% to 21% is vastly different. I think part of the reason that I'm so excited about Teddye Buchanan, not just who he is as a tackler and a run stopper, but I think how he excels is in his pass defense, is in his coverage. And part of that is just because he's athletic, he's disciplined, he's a smart football player. This is a perfect example of it, okay? Joe Flacco, you see right here, is looking for Cedric Tillman being covered by Nate Wiggins at the top of your screen. Look who's sitting there perfectly in his eye line, perfectly in his zone, ultimately makes him pump fake it. Then Teddye Buchanan, that gets him in the air. Good thing is, if Joe Flacco would have thrown that, that's a pick for Teddye Buchanan, even if Cedric Tillman didn't fall on his route at the top of your screen. Regardless, what Teddye Buchanan's coverage did was make Joe Flacco pump fake it, tuck it, and then eventually get a sack from Nnamdi Madubuike. And then also, like from the flip side of things, I think he's a big part of Roquan Smith's success, at least in week 2. Because the Roquan we saw week 1 against Buffalo was fine. It wasn't the second highest paid linebacker in the National Football League, fine, in my opinion. But the Roquan we saw in week 2, Teddye Buchanan was starting right next to him. He looked like the best linebacker in football. 15 tackles, 3 tackles for loss. That was a career high. He did them all in the first quarter. A fumble recovery all the way for 6, 3 quarterback hits as well. At the end of the day, I think this team is better with Teddye Buchanan. I think this team, this defense especially, excels with Buchanan in that starting spot over Trenton Simpson. And I've tried to give Trenton Simpson as much of the benefit of the doubt as I possibly can. It's just hard. It's hard to sometimes because he goes out there and he doesn't necessarily make a ton of plays. Now, John Harbaugh was asked about Teddye Buchanan in his press conference, and he said that he's playing some solid football in the right place, doing the right things, but then was asked a follow-up question if he'd be the starter going forward. And, of course, we all know John Harbaugh likes to play things close to the vest. Didn't really want to answer that question. Didn't really answer that question as well. But I think the play on the field, in my opinion, answered it enough for me. I need you to do something for me. Get those red pens out and grade it for me. Grade Buchanan so far 2 weeks through his first season in the National Football League by giving him an A, B, C, D, or F. Something I think you would give an A to, if you give it a shot, is our great friends over at Prize Picks. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, and you and I make decisions every day. But on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks offers injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks won't count it as a loss. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And that's what I love about Prize Picks is that flex play, because it's just a little bit of more of a safety blanket for you. Like, say this was your Prize Picks lineup. Say you had the Moore on Zay Flowers rush yard, and I love this Prize Picks lineup because I made this Prize Picks lineup. Say you had the Moore on Derrick Henry rushing yards as well, and the Moore on Amon-Ra St. Brown. Well, say the Ravens' defense is stifling. Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't score a touchdown, but Henry gets more than the rush yards. Zay gets more than the rush yards. If you flex play it, you still win money. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Link to this promo is in the comment section and the description of today's video. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. We thank Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. All right, let's talk about Aeneas Peebles, or FUB, as they call him. He's going to round this thing out. He had a 71.6 PFF grade in week 2, which was the 6th highest of all rookies across the NFL. He also is one of 7 rookies across the National Football League to generate 2 or more pressures since week 1. or in week 1, excuse me. And this guy was a 6th round selection? Are you kidding me? And PFF numbers might lie from time to time, but you know what doesn't lie? The film itself. And if you look at this right here, he's lining up in front of a 3-time Pro Bowler, Wyatt Teller, right there at that right guard position. You see Fub, he's circled in red. Well, ball snaps, it's going to be a handoff, and he does a nice little swim move over Teller, baiting him to get off leverage, and he absolutely falls to the ground. And then Fub, half a second later, he's got the running back dead to rights. But that's Quinshon Judkins, right? Sometimes it's hard to tackle that guy when he has that much space. Well, not for Aeneas Peebles. Still is able to bring him to the ground. That's a tackle for loss. That's an impact play, okay? And in my opinion, when looking at this lineup for this next week, for the rest of the season, like, honestly, I'm cool with more Peebles and less Washington. I like Broderick Washington. I love Aeneas Peebles, okay? I think he's the biggest steal of the draft, maybe, for the Baltimore Ravens. Getting a guy like that in the 6th round. I just love his relentlessness. Is that a word, Gage? Okay, let's go with it. I love his relentlessness. I love how relentless this guy is. He is never stopping. His motor is unbelievable. A running back could be 35 yards down the field. Guess who's given his best effort to catch up to him? Aeneas Peebles. He never gives up on a single play. Never gives up on a single pass rush. Never gives up on a single run pursuit. This guy's going to be a star. Let me know who has been your biggest surprise through week 2. Get it for me in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, you'll find the links to my social media. Joey Petersen 8 on Twitter and Instagram. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? Let's change that now.